Okay, imagine you've got three different classrooms, right? And you really want to know if their average test scores are actually genuinely different. Naturally, you'd probably just look at the averages, the means. Makes sense. But what if I told you that in statistics, to prove that means are different, we actually have to look at their variances? I know, it sounds completely backwards. If we want to know if group means are different, why on earth do we care about how spread out the data is? Like, how does the spread tell us anything about the average? Well, that right there is the core paradox of ANOVA, and it's exactly the mystery we're going to solve today. So by the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly what one-way ANOVA is, the 5 absolute ground rules you need before you can use it, and how this seemingly magical statistical test actually works under the hood. All right, let's dive right in. One-way ANOVA. It stands for Analysis of Variance. But what does it actually do? Simply put, it's a test to figure out if there's a statistically significant difference among several group means. Basically, we use it when we have 3 or more groups, and we really need to know, are these groups fundamentally the same, or is at least one of them mathematically doing its own thing? But I can already hear somebody in the back asking, wait a second, before we start testing anything, what are the ground rules here? And I absolutely love that question, because you can't just smash some numbers into a calculator and cross your fingers. There are strict prerequisites we gotta follow. In fact, there are exactly 5 basic assumptions you have to check off before you can legitimately run this test. Number 1, each population we sample from has to be normally distributed, so think of your classic bell curve. Number 2, all samples must be randomly selected and completely independent. Number 3, the populations need to have equal standard deviations, which just means equal variances. Number 4, our factor has to be a categorical variable. And number 5, our response has to be a numerical variable. Let's actually make sure those last 2 points are crystal clear, using our real-life classroom analogy. A categorical factor is just your grouping. Like, which of the 3 classrooms are you in? A, B, or C? That's your category. The numerical response, on the other hand, is the actual data we measure, like a math test score out of 100. So we're basically using the category to see if it impacts the number. Make sense? Awesome. Let's see how this builds into the actual test. Now, every statistical test out there is essentially a showdown between 2 distinct possibilities. We've got the null hypothesis, which we call H0, and the alternative hypothesis, or HA. In ANOVA, the null hypothesis is kind of the boring scenario. It basically says all the group population means are exactly the same. mu1 equals mu2 equals mu3. Nothing to see here, folks. The alternative hypothesis, though, that's where the action is. It claims that at least 2 of the group means are not equal. Let's just pause here for a quick second, because this leads to a massive, super common point of confusion. Wait, does the alternative hypothesis mean every single group has to be totally different from all the others? Like, if I have classroom A, B, and C, do all 3 need completely different averages to trigger this? Just take a second and actually think about that. The answer is no, not at all. It just means at least one pair is different. So if classroom A and classroom B have the exact same average, but classroom C is significantly higher, boom, the alternative hypothesis is triggered. Mathematically speaking, you just need one single differing pair to reject the null hypothesis. That's it. Okay, so now we know exactly what we're testing. But you might be asking, why does this combined variance get larger if the means are different? Seriously, how does looking at the spread of the data tell us anything about the averages? Well, this goes right back to that core paradox we started with. Let's visualize it. Imagine you're looking at some visual blocks that represent the spread of our 3 classrooms. If the null hypothesis is true, meaning all the classroom averages are exactly the same, those blocks are going to sit right on top of each other. They overlap almost perfectly. In this scenario, the variance of all the data combined is roughly the exact same as the variance within any individual classroom. Any tiny little differences you see, those are strictly due to random variation, just noise. But what if the null hypothesis is false? What if classroom C actually scored way, way higher? Now picture those same blocks again. They aren't overlapping anymore, are they? Classroom C is shifted way down the number line. So if you look at the combined data now, stretching from the lowest score in classroom A all the way up to the highest score in classroom C, that combined variance absolutely balloons. The total spread stretches out massively. And this brilliantly illustrates our whole paradox. A massive combined variance practically proves that the means themselves must be spread apart. All right, let's do a really quick quiz to make sure this concept is actually locking in. Which hypothesis assumes that all the differences we see in the data are strictly due to random variation? Go ahead, take a guess. It's the null hypothesis, H naught. If H naught is true, absolutely nothing special is happening, and any tiny ripples in the numbers are just random statistical noise. If you got that right, you are perfectly tracking with the logic of ANOVA. Great job! So let's bring this all together. Here's what you really need to take away from this explainer. One-Way ANOVA is basically a brilliant mathematical trick. It uses the combined variance to test if group means are different. To do this, you absolutely must have normal populations, independent random samples, equal standard deviations, a categorical factor, and a numerical response. The null hypothesis assumes all means are equal. And the secret engine behind it all? A false null hypothesis causes that combined variance to stretch and balloon out. So we've finally solved the logic of the variance mystery. But how do we actually calculate this ballooning variance? How do we measure it mathematically to actually prove our case? Well, next up, we're going to dive into the exact calculations. Join us for the next explainer where we unpack the F distribution and the F ratio. You definitely won't want to miss how these numbers actually come to life on paper. Keep learning.